All right, hi boys and girls. So today my video is dealing with the topic of dividing decimals by a whole number divisor. Okay? So that is the topic that we're going to be talking about today. So before we delve into dividing decimals, I wanted to talk to you about the strategy that we need to use in order to solve a division of decimal problem. So when we were dividing whole numbers, we talked about two strategies. We talked about partial quotient, okay, which was fondly called the Big Seven. And then we also talked about long division. Now, I told you when we were dividing whole numbers that you could pick either one. But when we are dividing decimals, we have to go to the strategy of long division. And the reason why is we try not to end up with decimal, not decimal, we try not to end up with remainders when dividing decimals, and because sometimes we might need to annex, there's that fancy word, which is add zeros to our dividend. And we can't do that if we're using the Big Seven, okay? So long division has some steps. Step one is to divide. After we divide, step two is to multiply. M for multiply. Step three is to subtract. S for subtract. And then step four is bring down. And then we repeat. Okay? Now, with division, the only thing that we have to do is we divide as if there is no decimal point. The only thing we have to do is bring the decimal to the quotient. We have to raise it up to the top in our decimal problem. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and model that for you, okay? So I'm going to show you my first problem, okay? My first problem is going to be 5 68/100 divided by 4, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my decimal to the top. Notice how I just kind of popped it straight up, vertically up. And now I'm going to divide as if there was no decimal. Now, with division, if I have 3 numbers in my dividend, there must be 3 numbers in my quotient. I'm going to repeat that again. If I have 3 numbers in my dividend, there must be 3 numbers in my quotient. That's important. Please remember that. So I'm going to divide 4 into my very first number, 5. 4 can divide into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. I subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, so I divided, I multiplied, I subtracted, and now I'm going to bring down my very next number, which is 6. And so now I'm going to divide 4 into 16. 4 divides into 16 4 times. Now notice I put the 1 above the 5, and now I'm going to put my 4 above the 6 because that's the number I dropped down. 4 times 4 is 16. I subtract. I'm left with 0. I'm going to bring down my last number, which is 8. And 4 divides into 8 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. And I'm left with 0. Okay? So that is how you would divide with a decimal in the divisor. Okay? I'm going to have you watch me one more time, and then I'm going to give you a couple of problems to solve on your own. Okay, so here is my next problem. I'm going to go ahead and divide. Let's go ahead and divide 62 and 80 hundredths divided by 4. Oh, 4 again. All right, we'll just roll with it. Step 1 is to take that decimal and pop it up on the top. Now I have 4 numbers in my dividend, so I must have 4 numbers in my quotient. So I'm going to take 4, my divisor, and divide it into my first number, which is 6. 4 divides into 6 one time. 4 times 1 is 4. I subtract. I'm left with 2. Bring down the next number, which is 2. 4 divides into 22 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. I subtract. I'm left with 2. Bring down the 8. 4 divides into 28 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. And I'm left with 0. Now, you may be tempted to end it right here because you ended up with 0. But remember, there are 4 numbers in my dividend. There will be 4 numbers in my quotient. So even though I ended with 0 and I'm bringing down another 0, I still have to divide it. 4 divides into 0 0 times. 0 times 4 is 0, and now you're left with 0. And so my quotient is 15 and 70 hundredths. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 problems that I like for you to try. And I would like for you to pause at the end of the first problem, then let the video play, and then the second problem and let the video play. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to give you both problems and tell you to pause. Okay, so number 3, the problem is going to be 4 and 8 hundredths divided by 2. And problem number 4, I'm going to go ahead and it's going to be 757 and 6 tenths divided by 8. Go ahead and pause the video and solve these 2 problems. All right, boys and girls, you've completed number 3 and number 4, and so now it's time to go over the answers. Okay, so number 3, the very first thing I'm going to do is pop my decimal up on the top. And now I'm going to divide as if the decimal was not there any longer. Okay, so I have 3 numbers in my dividend, so how many numbers should I have in my quotient? Yes, that is right. I should have 3. You guys are so smart. So 2 divides into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. I subtract. I'm left with 0. Now I'm not done. Even though I ended up with 0, I am not done because I still have 2 more numbers to divide. So I'm going to bring down my other 0. And now 2 divides into 0 0 times. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. And I subtract, I'm left with 0. Bring down the 8. 2 divides into 8 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. I subtract, I'm left with 0. And so your quotient for number 3 is 2 and 4 hundredths. Number 4, I'm going to pop my decimal up on the top just like so. And now I have 4 digits in my dividend, so I must have 4 digits in my quotient. So here we go. First number is 7. 8 cannot fit into 7, so that's going to be 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. I subtract, I'm left with 7. Bring down the 5. 8 divides into 75 9 times. 9 times 8 is 72. I subtract, I'm left with 3. Bring down the next number, which is 7. 8 divides into 37 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32. I subtract. I'm left with 5. I'm going to bring down my last number, which is 6. And 8 divides into 56 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56, and I'm left with 0. And that is the answer. 94 7/10 is the quotient to number 4. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you what it would mean if I needed to annex a 0. Okay, so I'm going to do one of these. This is going to be number 5. Okay, and number 5. Let's see here. Number 5. Number 5. Let's do. Let's see here. Well, I don't know if this will end up with an annex of a 0, but let's go ahead and do it anyways. 6 and 813 thousandths divided by 9. I might not need to add a 0 to this one, but we'll go from there. All right, first thing I'm going to do is pop my decimal up at the top. 9 divides into 6. I cannot do that, so it's 0. 0 times 9 is 0. Subtract, I'm left with 6. Bring down the 8. 9 divides into 68 7 times. 7 times 9 is 63. I subtract, I'm left with 5. Bring down the 1. 9 divides into 51 5 times. 5 times 9 is 45. I subtract, I'm left with 6. I bring down the 3. And 9 divides into 63 7 times. 9 times 7 is 63, and I'm left with 0. Okay, so boys and girls, I think I'm going to give you one more, and then I'm going to make a separate video about annexing zeros at another time. Mrs. Smith's brain's not working right now. So I'm going to give you one more problem. 133 2/10 divided by 6. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and solve number 6, and then come back and you can check your answers with me. Go ahead and pause your video now. All right, boys and girls, you should have finished number 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop my decimal up on the top. And I'm going to see, I have 4 digits in my dividend. I must have 4 digits in my quotient. So 6 cannot divide into 1. So that's going to be 0. 0 times 6 is 0. I subtract. I'm left with 1. Bring down the 3. 6 divides into 13 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12. I subtract. I'm left with 1. Bring down the 3. 6 times 2 gets me close to 13, which is 12. I subtract. I'm left with 1. And I'm going to bring down my last number, which is 2. 6 divides into 2 times, or I'm not 2. 6 divides into 12 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12, and I'm left with 0. All right, boys and girls. So this is how you would divide a decimal divisor using divided by a whole number using the long division technique. Tomorrow's video is going to be what happens when your number on the outside of your division problem, your divisor, is a decimal. And I'll talk about annexing zeros tomorrow instead of tonight or today. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you. There are 5 questions that I'd like for you to attempt and try and practice your skills. And then don't forget to email them to me, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.